Hello YouTube, welcome back to Bald Man Building an Airplane. This is section 29, and this is sort of fitting everything back together, attaching the little two bulkheads together. Yeah, it's a lot of sort of running back and forth here, getting bolts through and whatnot, and forgetting things and adding things back. But yeah, so to those of us in the United States, happy Black Friday. That should be the date that this video releases on. Day after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good time. All right, so what's happening here? This is the big piece of fuselage now. Well, I shouldn't say the big piece. This is the biggest it's been yet in this video series. Obviously, it does grow as time goes on. You run out of space in the house or in wherever you're building or whatever. So anyway, what's happening here is so these two parts, right? They've got to be brought together, and you got to sort of cleco the skin underneath to make sure that everything's lined up really well. So I'm trying to do, I got my wife helping me out. I'm holding the whole thing up while she's clecoing underneath. And then what you got to do is get it all lined up really, really nice, so you can put some like AN5 or I think it's like AN6 on the bottom and AN5 on the top bolts through for alignment. And the point there is that, well, you got to put a wing spar between these two bulkheads eventually, right? And the holes have to all line up really well for that too, right? So yeah, it makes sense. You gotta get them lined up on here too. So they have you put in some bolts temporarily, and then they actually have you take out the rear spar or rear wing spar attachment brackets as well. I can't exactly remember why that's done. I think it's because we got to sort of put some stuff back in through here. But yeah, I've got the plans pulled up for that too. But anyway, yeah. So here's what they have you do. So we're looking down between the two bulkheads. The white part in the bottom is the bottom skin, and this sort of boat-looking thing that I'm putting in there is a nice big hunk of aluminum that the bolts go through, as you see there, to line it up and hold it in place. So not only does it have to be like, it has to be square in all dimensions, right? So it's got to be square enough that these bolts go through, and then like that's just the bottom, and then you got to do the top. So here's the top, right? So there's this piece that goes in the top that attaches to like a side bulkhead that we'll see actually in a little bit. And that piece, where is that? Oh, I'm looking all over the place here. That piece sort of like squeezes and holds the top of the two bulkheads together with that bolt. So there's the big metal piece, big metal plate that you sort of like, once you put all these rivets in there and you get the bolts, the whole thing just becomes nice and square. And it's kind of amazing. Again, this is sort of like, this is a lot of the great engineering that Vans has done on these kits, where you just sort of like line up a bunch of holes and cleco them together, and eventually you'll rivet them together, and everything just becomes like what they call it, self-jigging, right? So it all just sort of like forces itself into place because of the matched hole technology that they, the CNC tech that they use to put these holes in very specific places. So yeah, I'm just using a drill there to get some of those bolts tightened up, at least for the short term. I think I end up loosening them up later for to redo them. But yeah, this is just amazing how nice it goes together when it's all done. So that's about it for this one. And in the next one, I'm probably going to spend a lot of time drilling holes from the plate there through the top bulkhead keeper piece. So hope to see you next time, and thanks for stopping by.